Very much, Marianne. It never does to underestimate older users. Some time ago, I went to cover a story up in Tain in Ross and Cromarty, and they were introducing telemedicine, and they'd gone to this old lady who was in her 80s, and she had, I think, type 1 diabetes. And we're trying to explain that they would have a screen there, and instead of her having to go to Inverness to see the consultant would sort of appear in her living room, and would be able to sort of chat with her and diagnose and help. And she was a bit confused about this. She just couldn't get the hang of this at all. And she said, look, we'll switch it on and we'll show you. And as soon as it came on, she went, oh, this is like Skype, which is how she communicated with her grandparents in Australia and had done for about 2 years. So don't make those assumptions. Right, third speaker in this session. Polly Purvis is Executive Director of Scotland IS. Polly's going to be looking at what skills are going to be required for the industry. So, Polly Purvis.
Colin said he thought I was going to talk about the industry, but I'm really not going to do that today and try to keep off that topic. But for those of you who don't know us, Scotland IS is a trade body for software, telecoms and IT in Scotland, and we represent over 250 companies across the industry, from multinationals such as Microsoft, Virgin, BT and HP, through to a lot of very small startup companies who are doing some very exciting stuff in the leading edge of technology. And in the middle of that, some mid-sized companies, some of whom are here today, people like Amor, NBT and SCC. So a very wide range of membership. I think one of the challenges about the excitement that Colin is trying to imbue in us all is that in order to deliver a digital age, we need people with the right skills. And I hope I'm not going to frighten you, but we have some fairly startling statistics for the industry. So the supply of highly skilled people is critical to the success of this industry and to the success of everybody here, both the users, the suppliers, and increasingly all those people who are going to engage in the digital economy. Where are we now? So there's about 105,000 people work in telecoms and IT in Scotland. eSkills, who are our Sector Skills Council, recognise that there are 45,000 new people needed in the industry over the next 5 years. That's 9,000 people a year. And they've just added on to that another 2,000 people a year to allow for the growth that the industry is currently going through. So we're looking for about 11,000 new people every year. And we have a couple of real challenges in the industry. One is there are very few women work in the sector. We need to increase that. And secondly, the demographic is a bit like the room we're in today. Too many people are the wrong size of 35. So we've got an aging population in the industry at the moment. And I'll get the technology right eventually. And I think some of the challenges we're looking at just now and the things that really frighten me are what's happening in the pipeline. The number of school pupils taking computing exams has dropped significantly since 2001. 2001, for those of you who remember, was about the time of the dot-com bubble. And since then, youngsters have increasingly stopped taking computing exams. We have some real problems in Scotland as far as that's concerned. We now have 7 local authorities where computing is not taught at all. The number of school leavers taking computing degrees based from kids coming from Scottish homes has reduced significantly and is continuing to reduce. We are seeing a large number of young people from across the rest of the world coming to our universities because they're world class. We have a lot of people from Eastern Europe taking degrees in computing science in Scotland, and we would hope to try and retain them in the workforce. If they come from within Europe, that's relatively straightforward. If they come from further afield, that's increasingly difficult. And we have to recognize the fact that many of these kids come to Scotland qualified to a level higher than our youngsters are getting qualified to. Maths and computing science, and particularly maths and physics, are being taught at a higher level in some of the Eastern European countries, and so those young people are far more attractive to our universities than some of our own young people, and that's a worry. We're seeing a reducing number of computing teachers in schools across the whole of Scotland. I guess the good news is that modern apprenticeships are on the increase, but the numbers are very small. So we need to be just conscious of all these challenges in the background. And where are the skills shortages? Well, if you go around this room and talk to people who are trying to develop technology solutions, they're crying out for software engineers. That's the single biggest area of demand. But this is also an industry that is growing up. The smaller companies in Scotland that started off as being very good at the technology are increasingly recognizing the importance of sales and marketing. They're moving into software product. They need specialist skills around that. We need a huge range of commercial skills. And I would hate to generalize, but I think that's an area where more women can come into the industry because they tend to bring those customer-facing commercial skills. There are also some very good female software developers, so I'm not trying to suggest anybody gets stuck in any particular box, but it's just one of the ways you can bring women into the industry. And some of the challenges we're facing, and you all face, is this is a very fast-moving industry. It might arguably be increasingly a fast-moving industry. And so we're all looking at new things, cloud, big data, Internet of Things coming down the line. We're all moving to mobile as a platform. I guess many of you are tackling issues around bringing your own device to work. People are looking at agile development. We heard Colin talking about that earlier on. And what we're seeing amongst the smaller companies in particular is an increasing use of open source, and we're starting to see that also in the public sector. I think that's around interoperability more than anything else. And for the smaller companies, it's about cost and their ability to access a huge range of services in the cloud. I think we need to be conscious of that because the traditional skills are still in huge demand, but there is a changing skills scenario. And the other challenge is this whole bit about the wider digital economy. I think most small companies, and certainly all larger companies, and most organizations have cottoned onto the fact that actually technology is delivering them cost savings and productivity improvements. And there's been a myth around that every time you bring in new technology, you're going to lose jobs. Well, the stats are against that. It suggests that for every one person's job that is lost due to technology, 2.6 new jobs are created. So actually this is about making things better. It's not about driving people out of the industry. And we're seeing e-commerce becoming, the UK is probably the top country in the whole of the world for e-commerce. The south of England, there's some really great examples of companies that have embraced e-commerce. In Scotland, we're behind the curve, but amongst other things, Scotland IS is working with Scottish Enterprise to try and address that. I'm sure you've all embraced digital marketing and social media, and we see that as we run a placement program. That's the single, apart from software engineering, that's the next biggest amount of demand we get is around digital marketing. The move to digital public services means that we are going to need very many more people with the right skills. So the industry has a lot of these skilled people. Increasingly, you're going to need those people to move into other areas. So actually, we're creating even more demand sitting behind all of that. And if all of the organizations and small companies in Scotland who the government is trying to encourage to adopt the digital and use the new technologies that are coming down the line and to use the broadband capability that they're investing in, then actually there's another 39,000 new jobs, and many of those will need digital skills. So if you add all that up together, we are sitting on a bit of a time bomb. So I hope I haven't depressed you too much. I don't think it's about razor blades. I do think it's about cocktails. I think generally and genuinely we can address this, but we need to do it now. And if we can address it, then we can build the skilled population we need for the future. If we don't address it, I think all the opportunity that the investment in broadband and the investment in the digital economy that the government is involved in is going to be lost. So what are the solutions? Well, Colin referred to the skills investment plan that's being undertaken for the industry. We've been working with Scottish Government, with Skills Development Scotland, Scottish Funding Council, eSkills Scotland, to develop a skills investment plan for the ICT industry. It's a little late. I'd love to have seen it done 5 years ago. And if we'd done it 5 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are today. But better late than never. And it creates a fantastic framework on which to build real action around skills. And I think it's right to say that in the last 18 months to 2 years, the penny has dropped across the public sector in those organizations who are involved in skills, that we really do have a bit of a crisis around skills for the IT industry. The skills investment plan addresses 3 key themes: sector attractiveness. Too many people don't know what it's like working in our industry. Too few youngsters understand the excitement of being able to develop apps, to work in IT, to make mobile telecoms work. We have to get that message across. We have significant short-term skills needs. Those 11,000 new jobs a year, the industry tends to bring people in from university and college. If we started now to address that problem amongst our youngsters at school, it would still take 5, 7, 10 years to bring through the right number of pupils. And in the meantime, we're sitting waiting for extra people in the industry. So we have to come up with some innovative new ways of dealing with that. And we need, at the same time, to build in that future talent pipeline. So what is it we need to do? Well, we have to excite a whole new generation. We need to get young people understanding the opportunities. Too many teachers still believe that IT is about word processing and Excel spreadsheets. We need to get computing taught in all schools in Scotland. The SQA has done a great job in updating the curriculum for computing at a higher and advanced higher level, so we have some of the tools in place. Work's been done by the Royal Society of Edinburgh and the BCS on teacher packs to give them up-to-date working packs for use in schools, and the government has just announced ring-fenced funding for CPD for teachers to make sure they're kept up to date. So we're starting to put some of the building blocks in place. I think we need to have a huge campaign out there encouraging young people as to what the job opportunities are in our industry. This is one of the highest paced sectors in Scotland. You can join the industry and travel the world. There are very few limits to starting up your own business. It's so exciting. I can't understand why we aren't getting that message across. And actually, the industry's at fault here. We need all of us to go out and say to our schools, to our young people, to their parents and to their teachers, here are the opportunities in this industry. This is what you can do. Let's stop sending kids into the law and into financial services and into medicine, all hugely oversubscribed, and let's get them into our industry. So I think we need to go out there with a campaign across the whole of Scotland and further afield to bring people to work in our industry. I think we also have to broaden the intake. We need to do more with modern apprenticeships. I think we need to do a huge amount of work around what used to be called conversion courses. We need to bring people who have got other skills and capabilities, both at undergraduate level and at other points in their careers, into our industry. Very many of you have brought people who have got domain expertise in other industries into your companies because they bring expertise in sales, in marketing, in product development. We need to do more of that. I'd love to see a skills academy being established for this industry. They've done it for the oil and gas sector. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do it for ours. We need to find smart ways of bringing people into the industry quickly. And I think there's a huge amount of work also needs to be done in skilling and upskilling people. If you've been working in some of our financial services sector, I shan't mention any names, you're probably working on technology which is 4 or 5 years behind the curve because they have invested a huge amount of money in platforms that they want to be stable and secure, but it means you're not working at the leading edge, and I think we have to find ways to deal with that. And so that's really me. Thank you very much for listening.